We're going to move on to our next item, the budget, the 2017-18 city budget. So, Council President, members of City Council, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Tonight, I've delivered the proposed 2017-18 budget for the City of Redmond for Council deliberation. This is the 5th budget cycle we've employed our budgeting by priorities process, and it continues to be successful. You will see that the vision for the city and our 6 central priorities remain the same, but we have rearranged resources to better meet the needs of our community. We continue to use results teams to evaluate proposed budget proposals. And again, we employed a civic results team consisting of members of the community to comment and rate the budget offers. Their input was very valuable in providing an outside the government viewpoint to our employees and to the directors team. The overall budget is $695 million, which is a 3.6% increase over the previous budget. This includes $132 million for capital projects. The budget assumes an annual 1% increase in property tax, as well as inflationary increases in the business tax and water and wastewater utilities. The city's price of government continues to decrease below its historic low of 5% to a forecasted level of 4.5%. This is the lowest that we've ever found in the city's history and below any normal. The foundation of the budget starts with our, and there's the price of government for you. The foundation of the budget starts with community vision and our 6 priorities of local government. The vision focuses upon how we manage growth and protect our established neighborhoods. 8 years ago, we were in a recession, and the public wanted to know what the city could do to create more jobs. Today, people are worried about the impacts of the region's rapid growth on affordable housing and traffic. These cycles will come and go, but our vision remains the same and remains strong. We manage growth by creating 2 urban centers and continue to create a community where you can live your whole life by providing choices in housing, transportation, and recreation. We continue to make strides towards our vision. We've partnered with Providence Healthcare to create the John Gabriel House along 160th that is completing 74 units of senior housing and a senior health care and wellness facility. We've partnered with Metro Transit to launch the Redmond Loop to shuttle people within the city during business hours so they can avoid driving. And we've partnered with the state and the tribes to complete Bear Creek Channel Restoration Project to protect downtown from flooding and enhance salmon habitat as it moves between Sammamish and Bear Creek rivers. Our 6 priorities of local government remain the same. These priorities were established in 2008 as the most important activities for the City of Redmond. Every budget year, we reaffirm these priorities through various public engagement activities, including surveys and questionnaires. The budget I've proposed to you fall within these 6 priorities, but I've established 4 themes within these priorities. 1, this budget strengthens community connections. It keeps our environment green, invests in our future, and it promotes organizational excellence. Strengthening our community connections. Increases in the budget include additional money for sidewalk and roadway maintenance, reallocating resources to place 4 additional police officers on the force, and increasing our investment in human services. The proposed budget includes a 53% increase for street and sidewalk repairs for an additional $677,000. This will make walking and driving within Redmond and between our neighborhoods safer and easier. In the police department, we are reallocating 5 peace officer positions. 4 of those positions will be commissioned police officers, and 1 position will become an evidence technician. The 4 officer positions will be used to address property crime and investigations. This is an example of where the process of prioritization works and makes us sharpen our pencils. This budget includes increases to the city's human services investment. The proposed budget accepts the Human Services Commission option to increase per capita funding by $200,000 or 37%. The budget recommends to Council the continuing funding of the Homeless Outreach Coordinator position. The outreach position connects homeless individuals to services they qualify for. This has been a successful pilot project over the summer that we wish to continue. Keeping It Green focuses new resources on clean water and open space. A major initiative that all the city needs, a major initiative that all cities need to implement are low-impact development standards to preserve the environment while the city grows. The budget adds 2 low-impact development technical employees to plan and inspect development projects. Also under Keep It Green is the addition of 1 position focused on continued protection of the groundwater system, a downtown soil study to understand our ground conditions better, an increase in the Green Partnership, Redmond Partnership, and additional park maintenance funding for new parks and trails that have come online or will come online shortly. Investing in the future. Infrastructure investment directs where our growth will go. We have invested in downtown and directed growth there instead of spreading it evenly throughout the city. During this budget cycle, we will finish the downtown street grade with the completion of Redmond Way and open the downtown park. Our investments now shift towards Overlake. Sound Transit 2 will be operational to the Overlake Transit Center in 2023. We are working with the state, Sound Transit, and Microsoft to prepare the 2 station areas for light rail before they open. This includes partnerships to construct 2 bicycle pedestrian bridges over 520 at the station sites, as well as implement stormwater controls for growth. In the next 6 years, we hope to work with the state to complete the 520 148th access ramp that allows drivers to come into the heart of Overlake Village near Estera Park. This budget increases our investment and strategy for affordable housing. We recommend that our contribution to the Housing Trust Fund increase by $100,000 per year. Early next year, I'm also going to ask Council to take a look at additional incentives to increase affordable and low-income housing in our community. The first proposal will be to create a multi-family tax exemption zone that will boost the number of units for low-income families. Organizational excellence. As I think many of you know, customer service is one of the 3 values established by city employees and something that's very important to myself. We work on customer service through lean process improvements, customer satisfaction surveys, and employee training. This budget proposed another strategy by creating a standalone customer service center on the 1st floor in City Hall. To staff the center, we have reallocated 4 positions to operate it. The budget includes some one-time money to create a customer service desk downstairs and carves out budget for its operations. Also under organizational excellence, I recommend the addition of a communication position to increase community engagement, a records coordinator to increase our responsiveness to public records requests, and moving emergency operations management to the fire department and hiring a civilian manager. I believe that the council and the public will find this budget to be responsible and proactive. I'm looking forward to working with the council over the next 6 months. Boy, that's a typo. Next 6 days? Anyone? Over the next couple months to finalize the budget for approval in December. I would now like to turn this over to Mr. Bailey to give us a greater detailed overview of the budget.
Thank you, Mayor. So that is my goal, is to provide a little bit deeper dive into what you'll find in the budget, get all this stuff out of the way, and walk through what you'll find will be the first few sections of the 600-plus page book that you've been presented with this evening. I'm going to actually use the city's website as a basis for my presentation to help illustrate how anybody can get access and follow up and dive deeper into this information should they choose. They'll find the 17-18 preliminary budget on the city's website tomorrow at redmond.gov/budget. And it's organized in electronic form exactly as it is in paper form as you have in front of you. I would also like to say before I dive in here just a bit that I characterize the budget as a team sport, and there's a lot of excellent quality team members that have contributed so far to this effort. The council, first of all, has already been involved in helping provide policy guidance and goal setting and things of that nature. By virtue of the approach we use, obviously dozens and dozens of staff members have been involved and contributed. As the mayor mentioned, we had citizens involved in providing advice. I think one of our civic results team members in the audience, and that's been very helpful. But the budget team, many of which are in the audience as well, that work in Melissa's shop, Melissa and Files and Kelly Cochran certainly are a significant part of the quality of the work product we're able to present to you tonight. And then lastly, I'd mentioned the very collaborative approach that's undertaken by the directors under the mayor's leadership in the directors team, helping the mayor put together his recommended budget. So a team sport, and we're going to pass the baton to you. So the mayor's message can be found under the heading entitled Mayor's Message. Not a lot of creativity there, but that's not our forte. If you scroll past the mayor's message, you'll get into what we call the highlights. And I'm going to just spend a little bit of time there and, again, provide a bit of an orientation. As the mayor mentioned, we do continue to use the budget by priorities. Our budget is pretty unique. If you look around at other communities, you'll see budgets organized in different ways, but very rarely organized around the community's priorities. We continue to build on a structure that we introduced, I think, a couple of budgets ago, where the underpinning is something the council actually created probably some 10 years or so ago now, maybe more, a long-range financial strategy. And this council just reviewed and revised that work earlier this year. It remains the foundation. And on that, we build this notion of the price of government, which the mayor mentioned, a capital investment strategy, which we'll spend a lot of time at our first workshop walking through and getting familiar with the update there. And then on that foundation, we build the budget and the capital facilities plan that's been presented to you this evening. So that continues to be the approach that we use. The mayor mentioned a couple of the highlights, and I'll just reiterate, and again, you can find them here. A 3.6% overall. It does include a 2.4% increase in business license fees, which is intended to keep pace with inflation, an adjustment we made in the last biennium that we're proposing we carry forward, and a 1% increase in the amount collected in property taxes as provided for in some of that policy and foundational work I talked about before. There is a proposed 2% rate increase for city water. There's, at this point, no rate increase proposed for wastewater or stormwater. The city has identified an estimate of $10.8 million of monies that will be available from this biennium to carry into the next biennium. We call that one-time revenue. And we have proposed ways to invest that one-time revenue in one-time type expenditures to help leverage it in terms of technology and other investments. Some of the studies the mayor mentioned, as well as some capital improvements, as was mentioned by the mayor in his remarks. So we'll obviously be talking about that during the workshops as well. The budget, by the way, was originally, as was originally requested by staff, was about $4.5 million or 4+% out of balance, and so we spent some time to bring those into balance, just as a point of information. One of the things that we've been working towards for a long time, and this budget continues to use logic models in every offer, with data tables that with metrics that support the logic as to what that offer is intending to accomplish. Hopefully you'll find that we've made great strides in the quality of that work. I think last time we got started, this time I think we feel pretty good about the work product. And in addition to that, we've created a performance dashboard that you can get to through redmond.gov/performance. And in the performance dashboard, you get the top 25, the highest level performance metrics for the city. And each metric here is relatively cryptic, but if you find that you want to understand, like here's a pretty interesting one, what's represented by that, you can click on it and drill into it and get a little bit more information, click again and get some trend lines and some additional information as well. So one of the elements that we're presenting as a part of this budget is not only an improved quality of logic model support for each of the offers, but a connection back up to those top 25 measures that you can then track through the website as to how the performance of the city evolves with respect to the things that we're working to accomplish. So that's one of the things we feel pretty good about, having hit kind of a benchmark, if you will, in our journey towards greater accountability to our community. The mayor mentioned the capital investment budget, and there's a variety of items included in it. These are some of the highlights, some of which you heard about in terms of investments in some of the hardscape, as well as housing and things of that nature. I won't dwell on that. We are recommending an increase of 10.14 FTEs, or employees. That includes 1.5 employees who we are recommending transition from a limited duration role into a permanent role. And so a net increase, if you will, of 8.64. On the next page, page 4 of this highlight, you'll see exactly where these positions are intended to land. And again, many of these were identified in the mayor's remarks earlier with respect to the role they'll play in providing service to our community. That notwithstanding, this chart illustrates the number of city employees per 1,000 population of the city of Redmond. And of course, during the recession, we sort of adjusted that rather drastically. We all remember that was a difficult time, but since then, we've kind of worked to stay with respect to this ratio close to where that took us. And you can see that notwithstanding the increased employees, in fact, we're going to have a lower number of employees per capita, if you will, than we've had in the past. The highlights go on to talk then about the investments in the budget within the context of each of the priority areas. Again, we continue to use the 6 priority areas. And again, many of these highlights or features, if you will, of what's being presented and recommended to you this evening were already addressed in the mayor's remarks. And so I'm not going to belabor that. I'll let you review that at your leisure. A few other points. The next section is what we call the budget at a glance. And again, a little bit different take on some of the highlights that you might want to be familiar with as you begin your work in terms of reviewing the budget. To do a little deeper dive on the price of government, the mayor mentioned that we have used this way to kind of think about the amount of resources that are being contributed by the community to the city to provide services, so the city can provide service back to the community. And as the mayor mentioned, it continues to trend down. This is the total resources of the city as a ratio over the total community income. And while it has gone below 5% in 2014, we anticipate it will continue to trend down as per capita income continue and population continue to grow faster than city revenues. We also have updated the long-range financial strategy. We shared that with council mid-year and have included that here again as a bit of context. It's not unusual in city business for anticipated expenditures to grow at a rate faster than anticipated revenues. The whole idea of a budget process is to reconcile the challenge of causing expenditures and revenues to become in balance. And so again, this budget is a balanced budget. It's balanced with respect to ongoing revenues and ongoing costs and over the course of the biennium. However, we forecast that once we transition out of this biennium, that again, the normal course of affairs would have costs growing faster than the resources. So $679 million in total revenues for the city as a whole. You can see that a lot of that is made up of charge for services because the city is a huge provider of service through its utilities and some of the other functions that it provides. And then within all of the city funds, we include certain kinds of activities on behalf of others as well. So all those revenues are included in this perspective. We tend to focus on the general fund, and the general fund carves out some of those paid utility type activities, and so then it more focuses in on the taxes. On the expenditure side, as you might guess, salaries and benefits are a large part of what any service organization spends its money on, but also a significant investment in capital. The budget provides not only for the 5% contribution from the general fund to capital, but several other contributions from the general fund to capital improvements as well, and they're chronicled in that capital section that I skimmed through earlier. Again, a review of the FTEs and how those FTEs continue to pursue the goals and initiatives that the mayor identified in his remarks. I mentioned the general fund a minute ago. Here's where the majority of the taxes that are paid are reflected, and you can see the majority of the revenues in the general fund, which is where the most discretion for the council in terms of how to spend these resources exists, and as a result where we tend to spend most of our time talking about the decisions that are made in terms of how those resources do get deployed. And so we'll be looking forward to that. After that, then a review of some of the behavior of some of those revenues, why we've made the recommendation we did in terms of what the forecasted revenues are, and some discussion about some history and things of that nature. So the budget represents, again, as I said, a lot of work by a lot of people, and now we look forward to working with you on it. It represents hundreds of choices that have already been made, and several more that will continue to be made. And so again, it's with a fair amount of pride that in the work that these people that comprise of this team have done, that we present you with the budget tonight and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Stillen.
Well, Mayor, I thank you for presenting us with this budget, and I believe I look forward to working with you and staff over the next 2 months to get this to approval. So thank you very much, and thank you for the presentation and outlining what we're going to get. So we'll take our budgets.
Thank you very much. Enjoy.